It's good to be with you. And one of the things I want to do is to wish each of you a very blessed Christmas. What I want to talk about tonight is the lectionary text that is used for Christmas Day. It's an unusual text because it comes from the Gospel of John. Most of the texts in the year that we're studying, the Gospel texts come from Matthew. But this is from the Gospel of John, the first chapter of John. William Sloane Coffin, who was a great preacher of another generation, said one time that Jesus is the mirror in which we see ourselves, the window in which we see God. To me, that is a beautiful statement, because for Christmas to happen to me and to you, we have to see both our own selves and our own need for this God who is broken into human history in Jesus Christ. And then we have to see that divine word that comes to us. John is unusual when we talk about Christmas because it doesn't have a lot of the things that we associate with Christmas. John's gospel has no birth narrative. In fact, the birth narratives are found in Matthew and in Luke. John begins the gospel by saying, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." The Greek word for word is logos. It can mean wisdom, but I like the translation word. It is a way of saying that God communicates the depths of divinity to you and me in our own humanity. In the beginning was God. And a part of God, a person of God that was in the beginning was Jesus. God started everything, and it seemed so harmonious. Whether we believe literally in the Garden of Eden or not, that makes little difference. What we're told in the Bible is not so much what things happened or the way things happened, but who it was that caused them to happen. God created us for harmony with God, but something went wrong. We call it sin. Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, and since then, we have been trying to find that harmony with God that we so desperately want. God came through the patriarchs, Abraham, Moses, and God said to God's creation, "Will you come back? Will you come home?" God came through the prophets, Amos, Jeremiah, Isaiah, all of the prophets. And the message was, will you come back to the harmony that we once had? You and I know we live in a world where there is not harmony. We don't have time to talk about all of the things that disturb us and distress us. But we live in a time when most of us are searching for some kind of balance, some kind of relationship with God that will give us strength for the journeys of our lives. Sometimes when you and I face difficulty, I've heard people say something like this: well, God wouldn't have taken your child if God didn't want another angel in God's choir. God wouldn't have taken your spouse if God really didn't want another angel in God's choir. I hope none of us ever say that, because if we say that to people, they will not want to go that theology represents. God is not the cause of the pain that we feel in our lives. God is part of the response to that pain. In other words, when you and I face difficulties in our lives, as we all do, it's not God who caused those difficulties. We live in a world that is off balance, and all of us face those problems and difficulties. But it is God who gives us the power to respond. What happens? God said, I've made you for myself. I created you in my image. You are my children. I want you to realize that. Does that mean everything goes well in our lives? You and I know better than that. But does it mean that whatever happens to us in our lives, God is the strength of our response to what happens? We don't have to give in to resentment, to bitterness, to simply crying out that things are unfair. Remember, this God knew what pain was. This word from God, Jesus, experienced so much pain. It's not that you and I don't experience pain, but in the midst of what we face, here's the good news. God is there as our response to whatever we have to face. In the midst of the darkness, God is there to give us strength to respond. I love William Coffin's words. Jesus is the mirror in which we see ourselves. And thank God, Jesus is the window in which we see God. That's the hope of Christmas. God is with us. And that's the hope of all of our lives.